So let's talk about the rules. And I've said this before. Rules only apply to guys that women are not into. Or maybe she just not attracted to the dude no more. Maybe she just don't like the dude no more. Let me tell you something, man. There's a lot of people within the mainstream media. They talk this talk about, hey, you gotta follow the rules, and everybody jumps in. Everyone goes along with it. Women jump up on it. And they go along with it because they benefit from it. You have to understand that. And a lot of guys, they drink the Kool-Aid too because they butt kisses, right? But if you got your shit together, if you're a real mover and shaker out here, if you're a boss out here, or if you on the way up, you ain't gotta be a boss. You can be on the way up. You can be about your business. You might have a plan. You know where you going. That type of dude, a woman ain't gonna approach him with no damn rules. And that's just how it is. Women only approach guys with these conditions because she wants to control him and pull him around, and she always wants to know what's going to happen next. She doesn't want to be in the dark. You know why? Because she's not really into him like that. He's just probably a short-term deal, or until she thinks she can.
Alright. Just got the call, it's going down tonight. It's a lot of goodbyes here tonight. But then I saw the sky and that I like. Here from Cali, I live in the valley. They look sexy.
Yo! It's official. Like a referee with a whistle. You know? Like, share the episode, and all that good stuff. And, you know, we're going to do like we always do. We're going to talk that talk, and we're going to go out and make it happen. You dig? You know? Every time I go live, I start getting weird messages, which is always interesting. You know? But whatever. Ain't talking about no money. I don't want to talk. You know what I'm saying? They ain't talking about no money. I don't want to talk. Anything else can wait. Ain't nobody dying. It can wait. Ain't talking about no money. It can wait. That's how I get down. You know what I'm saying? But you know, you gotta you got a lot of stuff going on in this crazy, wacky world that we live in. And some of it ain't got nothing to do with us. And some of the stuff can affect us directly or indirectly. But, you know, I try not to worry about the things that I can't control. And the things that I can control, that's where most of my time and effort goes. You know what I'm saying? That's how I get down. You know? But you know, this episode is brought to you by a longtime listener. He wanted me to talk about this, about chasing women versus having women chase you. And, you know, I think most guys are guilty at doing this, at chasing women versus having women chase them. At some point in time in your life, you probably was young or teenager, early 20s or something like that, or whatever. And I think sometimes us as young men, even some guys that are older, you know, sometimes we put too much time in things that's really not going to benefit us in the short term and long term. It may seem like it, you know, but sometimes you have to put your priorities in the right place. And a lot of people, um, they don't do that. You know, and a lot of times they don't know no better. And sometimes a lot of people just don't care, or they look at it as a kind of form of entertainment. Because you know, a lot of people are stressed, so they just want to release in some type of way. You know, so whenever you see, in most cases, when you see a lot of guys chasing women, a lot of times he's stressed out, overworked, um, maybe broken, you know, looking for a place to kind of release, decompress, you know. And I realized over the past 30 years, most people are just doing the best they can with what they got, man. Yeah, I realized that over the past 20 years, most people are just doing the best they can with what they got. Like for real, for real. That's most people. That's why I have a level of compassion for certain groups of people. You know, I don't have compassion for everybody, but there's certain people, if I know that they're doing the best they can with what they got, I'm like, okay, you know, I just kind of have a certain level of compassion for them or whatever. However, at the same time now, I'm not going to give you a chance to take advantage of me or exploit me or shit on me. I'm not a fool, you know. Even though I might have compassion for you, you know, empathy for you, or feel for you in some type of way, you're not going to take advantage of me. There's a fine line. I have boundaries. You know what I'm saying? So it's just it just depends. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if it's kids, you know, I have you know a certain level of compassion for kids. You know what I'm saying? Of course, but there's some adults that are just broken. You know, there's some people you just gonna have to let go. Some people are just not gonna make it, especially in the climate that we live today. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, some people you're just gonna have to let go. Everybody's just not gonna be able to make it. Something something's gonna something just gonna happen. Like I give you an example. If you have a group of people, let's say you're in your 20s, say you're 25, and you have a group of people, 4 or 5 people that you work with. You starting a business from scratch, right? And you know it's going to take you a good 10 years to blow up. And within that 10-year time frame, you're going to be traveling around the world, traveling around the country, because that's what it's going to take for you to launch the business and blow up, right? Out of your cruel people, something's going to happen to at least one of them. One of them is just not going to make it. And I don't know what's going to happen to them, but something's going to happen. It might die. It might get in some type of accident. It might get sick. Who knows? But something's going to happen.
That's just how it is. It's kind of like being a rapper. It's kind of like being having a rap group. If you have a rap group, and if it says you and your buddy, y'all rap group, one of y'all is not gonna make it. The odds are against that y'all gonna be together 15, 20 years from now. That's just reality. And a lot of people don't like talking about that type of shit, but that's just reality. Everybody's not going to make it. Now, it shouldn't be that way, but that's what it is. Because the world is a battlefield. My dad used to tell me, you get what you catch. And whatever you get, you're going to have to fight to keep it. So the world is a battlefield. Now, it might not seem like it's a battlefield sometimes because you can walk around and ain't nobody going to attack you or do anything to you. But maybe that's just your experience. There's people that you know that have gotten attacked. There's people that you know that have left home and didn't make it back home at the end of the day. Everybody probably know somebody that's like that. It might not be your family or relative. It could be your classmate or somebody. Everybody knows somebody in America, especially if you're a black person, that have left home and they didn't make it back in one piece. I know somebody that's like that. Because I'm the person that I'm talking about. Hell, I'm the person that I'm talking about. Yeah, I made it back, but I ain't made it back in one piece. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. It's like I didn't ask for it. Shit happens. Now you might say, well, it ain't the way it used to be back in the 60s or whatever. Of course it ain't the way it used to be. It ain't the way it used to be when my father was growing up and my grandfather was growing up. Of course not. But is it better? Some ways it is, some ways it ain't. But some things stay the same. Like I haven't seen anything change in 20 years. Everything is still the same over the past 20 years. Nothing has really changed. I think people have become more bold today. So that makes a lot of people uncomfortable, nervous. Some people, I don't know. Yeah. Some people don't like being around in certain environments, whatever, or living in certain areas. Because there's a lot of people that a lot of guys that they kind of want to get away from certain people, but you can't run. You can't keep running all your life. There's certain things you're gonna have to face, and you have to see it for what it is. And a lot of this stuff has to do with our relationships. People we have relationships with. This stuff affects every facet of our life. The environment that we live in, people we meet, and everything. You can't get away from this shit. You can't get away. You can't run. You can't hide. You can run, but you can't can't really hide unless you move into the boondocks, into the wilderness somewhere, into the jungle, something like that. And even if you move into the jungle, you got to deal with fucking animals, wild animals out there. So you take your pick, you know. But as long as you're living on this planet, you're gonna have to deal with people in some type of way, shape, or form. You know. What I found is a lot of guys, well, to get away from reality to what's really going on, a lot of guys will engage in entertainment. So that's where the alcohol abuse and the drug abuse, the women, and see, that's where that shit comes in at. Because see, I can entertain myself, get out of my mind for a couple hours or a day or two, all weekend, and I don't have to deal with reality because I got all the women around me. So see, that's a form of entertainment for a lot of guys and gals. It's like, long as I keep having fun, keep having a good time, I don't have to deal with my situation and my family. I don't got to deal with my kids. I don't have to deal with my wife. I don't have to deal with people that's closest to me. You know what I'm saying? See, and this is why I always say most guys are cowards. Most guys are cowards, especially those guys that talk that riffraff, that tough talk. They're the biggest cowards. So the guys that you think that, oh, he bought that life, those are the biggest cowards. Those guys, shit. As soon as shit get real, man, they're gonna fold under pressure. And I've seen the best of the best fold. I mean, they fold for a phone call. They'll fold when the white man walk through that door. They'll fold. And who I got to tell on? I'm taking a deal. Damn. You know, like that. You know. So the people that you look up to, you think, oh, he bought that life. Man, I've seen the best of the best fold under pressure. The people that keep to themselves, don't talk too much, they're the ones that are about that life. Yeah, they're the one that's about that life. The people that see anybody that talk a lot, they can't back up all that shit. It's impossible. Can't happen. You know, you can't back up all that stuff you're talking about. It's impossible. You know. So see, and I can relate to a lot of this because, you know, when I was in my 20s, I was trying to figure out a lot of things. I was trying to figure out where I was going to live when I got out the military, what I wanted to do, and who I wanted to do with. You know, it took me about 8-9 years to really figure out this shit. You know, there's one thing to know what's going on, but then there's another thing to know how I'm going to do it and who I'm going to do it with and where I'm going to do it at. And that's what took me a long time to figure out. Because like when I got out the military, I didn't really know where I wanted to live. Now I know I didn't want to move back home because I went back home for a couple months and I was like, no, this ain't where I want to be at no more. Of course I'll come to visit. Of course I love my family. But I was like, it's time for me to move on and and do other things, with my life. You know what I'm saying? I think I've been away for too long and I've seen too much, and I understood when I was in the Navy, it was kind of like a culture shock for me. It was like a gift and a curse. Like I always say, it's kind of like I heard Dick Gregory said something like years ago. He said, once you put the magic glasses on, you can never take it off. In other words, I can't go back to who I used to be before I went in the Navy. You know what I'm saying? I just can't. I mean, it's kind of like I've transformed. I've become like another person. So that's why I couldn't go back home. I couldn't live there no more. And I pretty much outgrew all the people that I grew up around. So that's so it took me a minute because that's why I was traveling, meeting all these people, whatever. I used to go out a lot, and that was cool for a while, but that got old after about 5 years, And I realized that by the time I got in my mid-30s, I realized that a lot of the time that I took to figure out things in my 20s, what would have happened if I didn't know what I wanted to do when I got out the military? You know what I'm saying? If I knew what I wanted to do when I got out, I could have hit the ground running. I would have spent that time being the most productive person I could have been. And a lot of that stuff, once I look back on it, it's kind of a waste of time. But I had to go through that to really figure out what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go and where I wanted to live, because I really had nobody to talk to, about, when I first got out, because it's kind of like most people I was talking to they didn't have the background or the experience that I had. So I'm like, what the hell? They couldn't relate. They couldn't relate to what I was saying and where I've been and what I've seen. The only people that I was talking to are people that I was in the military with. And a lot of those people, they were still in at the time. Because I got out before they did. Because I went in before they did. At least the people that I used to hang around with. You know what I'm saying? So if I knew what I wanted to do, I could have hit the ground running. I would have been much more productive. And I could have I've been much better off today than ever. Because all we have is time. That's our most precious asset. Some people say, well, better late than never. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. But if I would have, because this is why I always say the younger you are, you should try as many different things as possible. That way you can figure out what you like, what you don't like, and even travel and go places and meet different people. That way, what type of people you like being around, what type of people that you just ain't feeling, who you have chemistry with, who you don't. You know, the faster you can do that, the better. And you can make those mistakes when you're younger. As you get older, you can't, a lot of us can't really afford to make a lot of mistakes like that. You know, I know I can't. I can't really afford to make a lot of mistakes like I did when I was in my 20s. It's going to take me much longer to recover from a lot of those mistakes I did when I was in my 20s. Man, see, this is what I learned when I was in the military. That because in the military, I couldn't make a mistake at all. Period. If I made a mistake in the military, someone could die. So I still have that same mentality. You know what I'm saying? I know everybody make mistakes, but you try to minimize as much mistakes as possible. You know? Yeah, I know ain't nobody perfect. Yeah, but like I said, some of us can't afford to make those mistakes, because if we make the wrong mistake, we could be in jail. You know? Because see, I look at it like this. The better the person you can become, or the best person you can become, the better off you be in life. And that's just what it is, you know. So the better man you can become, for the most part, 80% of everything else usually take care of itself. Because see, once you go through all the trials and tribulations, that's going to build character, confidence. It's going to boost your social skills. Your game going to be better. Your finance is going to be better. I mean, everything's going to be better. Because the older you get, the better you get. But if you go about it the opposite, if you start to see, the reason why you shouldn't chase what you want, because scientifically speaking, if whatever you chase tends to want to get away from you, even a dog, even if you chase a dog, most of the time the dog want to get away from you. Money wants to get away from you. The women want to get away from you, because whatever you chase, it makes you kind of desperate. It makes you thirsty, like some people like to say. Think about it. That's just scientifically speaking. Whatever you chase tends to want to get away from you. Man, woman, child, pets, whatever. That's scientifically speaking now. That's not my opinion. That's just what it is. But if you build yourself up, if you become known, famous, popular in your circle of influence, in your town, your city, once you become the best man you can be, you stick out. People starting to look at you different. And they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that in most cases, you know, but you'll pick up on it. They'll start asking you questions, asking you for advice, because they know that, hey, y'all ain't the same. So they'll ask you for advice. They're not going to ask nobody else for advice. They'll ask you. If you're doing the same thing they're doing, hell, what the hell are they gonna ask you for advice for? That's usually how it go. You become attractive by default. Whether you want it or not, or like it or not. Sometimes what's understood don't have to be explained. And I talk about this, I wrote about this in my books and every damn thing. And P.S. by the way, go get my book. It's right behind me. Boss Life Secrets. It's right behind me. And Love Can't Wait. It's right behind me on the shelf. And that poster, Boss Life Secrets, it's right behind me on Amazon.com. Go get my books if you want to win. If you want to lose, don't get it. It's all about winning. That's what it's all about. It's all about winning, being happy, doing what you want with the people you want without having to sacrifice yourself. That's what it's all about. You can live life on your terms without trying to be some degenerate. You don't have to be a degenerate or some old weirdo or freak. You know, you can be you. You don't have to be somebody else. That's what I learned when I was in the Navy. I can be myself. People are always going to judge. People are always going to say something negative. It don't matter who you are. My mom and my dad was probably two of the coolest people that I ever known. And people dislike them. Everybody's not going to like you. So why should you even care anyway? You know? Yo, what's going on what's going on down there? So the best thing you could ever do in life as a man is build yourself up. Try to live the best life you can. And always keep growing and always keep getting better. You know? And see, I always say, why try to fit in if you already stick out? You know, try to be you for a change and see what happens. And the best part about it is nobody can beat you at being you. Nobody can beat you at being you. That's the good news. And once I figured that out, it was on and popping. I've been this way ever since. I've never, I never really wanted to be anybody else anyway. But I realized that everybody's not for me. And I'm not going to be everybody's biggest cheerleader. I'm not going to be running for office. I don't have to have a whole lot of people around me. I don't have to have a whole lot of women around me. Only a small group of people, that's going to be really rocking with me. And I'm cool with that. I ain't got a problem with that, And people always want to say what they want to say and, man, whatever. Everybody's not for me. And nobody loves me as much as me. Nobody loves me as much as me. And this is why I started the podcast. I started a podcast because I could say what I wanted to say and nobody could censor me. Nobody could, try to tell me what I can't say, or you breaking the rules, or you doing something that's against our policies, and you can't shadow ban me over there or whatever, And I'm not even talking about anything that's controversial over here. I'm just talking about relationship with men and women and some of my experiences. And what's so controversial about that? And there's other people with other channels that talk about stuff that I would never talk about in an open forum, open public forum like this. It talking about going down on people, giving details of how to do it. And I would never talk about anything like that. I would never talk about anything personal, how I went down on somebody. They got a whole 45-minute video talking about it. And their channel get thousands and millions of views. And I'm just having a conversation, telling stories. Yeah, that's when I realized that the YouTube game is hacked. It's rigged. It's rigged. This is one reason why I started another channel and a second podcast. I started a business podcast talking about business, focus on business, because I look at it like you can't really talk about relationships without talking about finances and talking about business. So this is why I have two podcasts. And the second one is going really well so far. And the funny thing is, there's a whole lot of people that's been reaching out to me to come on as a guest, which is very interesting because the first podcast I started, the opposite was true. I would ask people to come on and they would say, oh, I got to think about it, or no, we're not a good match, we're not a good fit, or whatever. And I realized that some people have strong views in regards to their personal relationship or just relationships in general, right? But when it comes to their business or their job or their profession or whatever, or their careers, they don't really have the same passion or emotions, which the opposite should be true. You really should care about both, but they don't. This is why they'll listen to the episode of Love Can't Wait, right? Podcast. They'll listen to a couple episodes and they'll find something that they don't like. And they'll be like, oh, I didn't like what you said about religion. Oh, I didn't like what you said about women. Oh, I didn't like what you said about, and on and on and on. But I'm saying the same thing in regards to business. And people don't got a problem with it. I'm not changing who I am on either podcast. I'm the same person. So that's when I figured out that people aren't really serious about who they are. People don't really like who they are. Most people don't like what they see when they look in the mirror. They focus on what they hear or what somebody else say. That means more to them than what they think about themselves in most cases. So this whole experience of me starting a second podcast, that's what it's a very interesting, it's been a good ride so far. And, you know, I'm learning a lot about just the mindset of a lot of people. Most people are not really serious about what they do and how they do it. So I had one lady tell me something like she's taking a break from being online. I'm like, taking a break? What are you talking about? I mean, what are you taking some time off? She said, I'm taking a whole month off. What? That's weird. What are you taking? And then what you gonna? I didn't ask her what she's gonna do. I didn't even ask that. That's weird. What's so bad about being online? Why is this so? She acting like it's a job. I mean, like when I have people come on to record a podcast episode, we sit down just like I'm sitting down right now, and we have a conversation just like I'm having with you right now, for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, tops. If it goes to 45 minutes is like the max, and that's rare. 45 minutes. That conversation has to be flowing real good for me to go 45 minutes. But 30 minutes tops. 17 minutes is like the magic mark, right? So how's that so hard? What's so difficult about having a conversation? People are weird, man. And you wonder why they're not where they want to be in life. They're not. A lot of people have too many bad habits. Their habits hold them back. Some people are in the way. In their own, they're in the way of their own livelihood. They don't even realize it. It's easy to point the finger, but if you point the finger, you need to point two of them back to you. It's a lot of people they're in the way. They hold themselves back. I mean, look at your habits. Look at the people you hang around. That's going to tell you. That's probably 80% of the game right there. Your environment, people you hang around, and your habits. That's 80% of the game right there. And do you show up? Or you just lie to yourself? Or you lie to everybody else? You say, hey, I'm coming to the conference. You don't go. You paid the money and still won't go. Or you say, hey, I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll show up. I'll record with you. Or no show. So now you lying to you. Not only are you lying to somebody else, you lying to yourself. And this type of shit becomes like a habit for a lot of people. They just keep lying, and it becomes normal after a while. And their whole life becomes a lie. And you program yourself to be that way. And then you get with some woman, some jive ass woman you might meet along the way, and even she knows you're a fucking liar. And then when you don't get no respect, now you're mad. You're mad because you don't get no respect. Well, you really didn't earn it. You really didn't earn no respect. because you're not really a good example of what it takes to be a good leader. Really. Now, your woman, she ain't going to tell you that. You know, she don't want to hurt your feelings or piss you off. You might go off on the bitch. You know, sometimes you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. You know, but it's all about you have to be a good leader. You have to stop looking for or waiting for other people to lead you around or tell you what to do or give you permission. You know, no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to save you. I don't care who's in the office. You know, I don't care who's about to get elected. I don't care how many smiles and kisses and how many women you lay up with. Nobody's coming to save you. You're gonna have to save yourself. You know, gonna have to save yourself. And a lot of times, depending on where you live, it might be a lot of distractions. You know, might be a lot of distractions where you live at. You know, I understand. Especially if you live in some place like California, LA specifically. You know, where it's a lot of distractions, a lot of stuff going on. You know, you know, and none of that stuff benefits you or it's going to help you out in most cases. You know what I'm saying? All the distractions, all the entertainment, the going to the nightclub, the drinking, smoking, you know, getting high. I'm not saying you shouldn't go out. I'm not saying you shouldn't hang with your friends. But don't let that be like the main thing. Don't let the main thing be the main thing all the time. That's all I'm saying. Don't let that be the highlight of your life. That's all I'm saying. You know? And just because you laid up with somebody somebody that's because you know in California especially, you know, in the LA areas, LA and San Diego, I've realized because I used to hang, you know, I used to be in the Navy, so I was in San Diego a lot, and you know, LA is like what, an hour and a half away up the freeway. It's not far, you know. But I realized in LA, there's this thing, well, really in California, all of California, really, at least from what I've seen. I've never been to the Bay Area, but from what I've heard in the Bay Area is pretty much the same. In California, there's this thing where people have this kind of a weird fetish with a lot of people, mainly us, you know, and there's this thing where if there's a bunch of, if the population is diverse, somehow people will say, well, you know, it's different here. This is California. This ain't South Carolina. This ain't down south where you from. people are different. The people are different in California. That's true. But they'll use their experience and say, well, it's diverse here. White people and black people, we're all cool. The Mexicans, we're all cool. The Asians, we're all cool. And this is based on their experience, just because they can date each other, hang out with each other, sleep with each other, hug, kiss each other. So somehow California becomes like the melting pot of America. But I'm like, yo, bro, every place ain't like California in America. And just because you talk to these people or you call them your friends, that doesn't really mean anything. You're just having a good time. You're just having fun. And you hang out with these people, they're not doing anything to help you out, even though you said they're your friends, but your friends ain't doing shit for you. And I would go even further and say they couldn't help you if they really liked you. I mean, they couldn't, and diversity don't got nothing to do with people, really. The resources ain't diverse. So hell, if I got to control and access the majority of the resources, of course I would say I wouldn't have no damn complaints. Because I can come in, I'm going to keep it real. If I was a white guy and I wanted to talk to a bunch of different women besides white women, I would move to California. I would move to LA or San Diego. If I was a white guy, I'm being honest. Because there's a whole bunch of women in LA and San Diego and the Bay Area that's waiting to lay up with a white guy and to date a white guy. So if I'm a white guy that's from someplace like North Carolina and I want a new scenery, I want to talk to a different group of women, hell, I'd move to California. I'd move to LA, San Diego, or the Bay Area. It's a melting pot, as they say. That's the swirling capital of America. I mean, everybody know it. Everybody knows it. Over there, everybody knows it. And people that have visited California, they know it too. I always say, go where you have the unfair advantage. And on top of that, go where you're celebrated. But don't get it twisted just because you're able to hang out with certain groups of people and lay up with certain groups of women. That doesn't really mean much. If they're your friends and they're not helping you, they're not pushing you forward, but they're not really friends. Because at the end of the day, people are either pushing you forward or holding you back. There's no in between. So get that delusional way of thinking out of your mind. Just nah. That's weirdo talk. But hey, that's all I got. I didn't plan on staying on here long. Check out my Patreon. Check out my podcast, Love Can't Wait, and all that good stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? If you want to work with me directly, you know how to find me. My website is chooseyourrelationships.com. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.
Alright. Just got the call, it's going down tonight. It's a lot of goodbyes here tonight. But then I saw the sky and that I like. Hair from Cali, I live in the valley. Then you look sexy.